Welcome back to the High Performance Hub podcast. Today we are joined by none other than Sam Simmons. What we're going to be doing today is delving deep into fitness, entrepreneurship, business, success, failures, and always banter. How are we, mate?
Love the banter. Doing good. Happy to be here. Honored to be a part of this, relaunch of sorts. Took a little hiatus. I don't know if the scheduling's going to work out that way for what you publish, but yeah, happy to be here.
No, buzzing, mate. Yeah, I've had a little bit of time off. Obviously, went back to the UK, brother's wedding and green card.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, mate, big moves. 2 years in the process, and it's a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, as you can imagine.
Or maybe I can pay you in USD now.
Well, again, that's the next step.
Next step, we got to get there. We got to get
baby steps, mate. Baby steps. But yeah, then this is obviously the first session back since the travels and kind of getting back into the routine. And obviously, bought a new house, so it felt like I was.
Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we moved in there for 6-7 weeks, and then I left for 2.5-3 months. So coming back this time, I was like, right, this is home.
Yeah, now you can enjoy it.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
Massive asset that you just invested into.
Yeah, yeah. But how's life with you at the minute, mate?
It's good. It's good. We talked a little bit about this before we got on air, but very different in that I'm doing nothing. Got a almost 10-month-old at home. Trying to find balance in life while navigating the joys of learning how to parent, which has its highs and lows, you could say.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that I've got all that to look forward to in the near future. But what would you, just going on that, mate, and digging a little bit deeper, what would you say has been the biggest kind of realization in the sense of obviously having Parker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's there's a book that I read before becoming a dad by Michael Ian Black. He's a comedian, funny guy, but he has a book that's basically a collection of letters to his then 18-year-old. And what he said about becoming a parent, which I resonated with deeply, was how he talked about how he always felt like a kid in every aspect of life until you become a parent. Even like you turn 18, you feel like a kid going in like sort of like into a convenience store like an idiot buying cigarettes. You turn 21, you feel like a kid having a drink. You get married, you feel like a kid putting on a suit and getting married. And it isn't until you have a kid and you're driving home that it's like, oh shit, I'm an adult now. And so you expect this culmination of a lot of expectations and things based upon what everyone else has said, that you'll become this different person upon having a kid. And that doesn't happen at all, at least for me. Basically all that went out the window. And I think what has been most awakening to me is that you become more of a version of yourself in both the good and the bad. And I think you being, especially having a newborn and being put in that trial by fire setting, you learn a lot about yourself, good, bad, and otherwise. And your best aspects become stronger, your weaknesses become even weaker. And I think part of the journey is finding balance in that. And obviously you want to maximize your good aspects, but then you want to mitigate a lot of the negative aspects because the stakes are higher when you have a kid in tow as opposed to when it's just you fucking around. Sorry, I don't know if this is a cursing podcast.
No, do what you want, mate.
You can get away with a lot more. Yeah. So it changes the game a little bit.
Yeah, I can resonate massively with what you said about being a kid, mate, because I honestly feel like Peter Pan. I'll never grow up.
Yeah.
But then it's at some point you have to, but I don't want to lose that kind of, I don't want to say immaturity, but I suppose it is in a way, that kid mentality.
Yeah.
But because we worked together before you had Parker.
Yeah.
And obviously now you've got Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, from my perspective, you haven't changed in the way that how much you train. Doesn't matter when you get it in or how you get it in. And that, for parents listening or watching, they're going to be like, how the fuck do you manage?
Yeah, I don't know if that was a statement in the form of that became a question, and I wish I had an answer, because there isn't here's what you got to do. You wake up at this time, you go and do this, you go and do that. It's just kind of, let me give you an example. It's a day-to-day thing, and I'll give you an example as of this morning. So luckily we're in a place that most nights Parker's sleeping through the night now, which is for those that have gone through this and then got to that point, it's oh my God, it's amazing. But that doesn't always work out that way. So this morning he ended up having a wake up. He's teething right now. So he got up at 4 a.m., started screaming, and I got into bed a reasonable hour. So, wasn't the worst thing in the world. Morgan took the first effort shift. She tried for an hour to get him back down, couldn't. 5 o'clock rolls around. She gives up, comes in and gets me. I'm like, all right, tag, you're it. So I, with my wonderful magic dad touch, get him down within 10, 15 minutes. And next thing you know, it's 5:15, I'm wide awake, and I'm just praying that he sleeps for a while longer. That is when I got my workout in. And it was like, I didn't plan to work out at 5:15 in the morning, but like that is what life offered me today. And you just kind of sneak it in when you can. You pick your spots and take advantage of the time that you get and be flexible. I think that's like the operative word, is just like this is so counter to my nature as a type A person that loves to plan and have structure around how I handle my day-to-day. Structure goes out the window. You just have to take opportunities when you can and be willing to adjust on the fly as it's needed.
Yeah. That last bit you said is literally against your DNA.
Yes, I know. I do as I say, not as I do, because I have a real hard time with it.
But it's genuinely like, you probably won't realize it because you're very like a humble man, but it's inspirational, the fact that you optimize and you find any opportunity to keep moving forward in whatever way that is. So aside from fitness, which I'm sure we'll go back into, so you find time when you have those pockets of time, windows of opportunity, and you optimize that. What about business?
I mean, it's you have a running tally of things, and it's easiest you on a day-to-day basis, you have all the things you have to do, and ultimately, whether it be an active process or a passive process, you kind of just have to stack rank those things of what's important to you on a day-to-day basis. And some days, there'll be a lot of things in family bucket. Some days there'll be a lot of things in the work bucket. Sometimes there'll be a lot of things in the fitness bucket. I got to get my long run in today, whatever the case may be. And you kind of just have to, if you're going to give a lot to this bucket one day, then maybe you take from that bucket the next day and allocate a time and attention depending on what's most urgent, what your priorities are for that given window. So there's not, it's just another spot of like not having a clean answer. It's just more of like, work's just another thing to evaluate on a case-by-case basis and finding time for that in the context of everything else. I think that's probably like one of, going back to like what is most striking about parenting is the need to prioritize and needing to be uber diligent and almost cutthroat with your time and not letting yourself waste it on people, things, or whatever else that doesn't matter, because ultimately your day is that sort of spreadsheet of things to do, and you got to be able to get through it all, and it's just about finding a way.
Yeah, I think even if, like for myself, not being a parent yet, it's still having that constant prioritization of time and being efficient with that time. And then for me, for example, I'll plan out my whole week, if not longer than that. But then I'm sure it's going to change because it has to.
Yeah.
Like you can't know for sure that you're going to do that task on Wednesday from 9 till 10. Like, but instead of planning for the week ahead, you just be like, right, I'm going to plan tomorrow. Yep. And then leave gaps for that flexibility.
Yep, 100%. I think when I get into the worst headspace with my workouts and sort of our work together, it's when I'm trying to be too rigid, and I even like it's not to put Parker in the crosshairs of blame for all of this, but like, there's times where I'm halfway through a lift, and about me, like I need my lifts to be short because I'm on borrowed time much of the time, but sometimes he doesn't get the memo that I'm working out right now, and he wakes up halfway through, and it's every fiber of my being is like just resisting the need to step away to go take care of this, that, the other thing. And so, you have to learn, as hard as it is, to have that flexibility and treat your schedule as less a directive, more as a guiding factor in your life and what you do day to day.
Yeah. So with the business side, because I know you were launching Mint Pass Travel.
Yes.
That was the last time we were working together.
Yep.
And then you're doing stuff, I don't know if you can talk about it, but with the poker side of things. So, mate, unleash, because this is interesting.
Yeah. So it's a funny, and I haven't talked about this publicly yet, actually. So breaking news on the podcast.
Exclusive.
I actually shut down MintPass last week. I am a failed founder, and that's a weird thing to like proclaim. But I think this applies to a lot of facets of fitness and performance, everything else. But like the willingness to fail, and so I'm not gonna I don't want to make the focus of this session. Here's how I failed. But nonetheless, like I think that's inevitability in business and life and otherwise is having those things happen. So long story short of it, we tried to create a consumer app for travel that used different aspects of crypto technology and rewards points and other things, and spent about 3 years working on it. Got into like the tens of thousands of users, and for with some function of fundraising challenges and not being able to prove scalable monetization, amongst a litany of other things, ended up working out. So we sunset that over these past couple weeks, and that has led into other exciting things. Which, yeah, I'm working with a company as the vice president of tour entertainment called the World Poker Tour, which is, for any poker fans probably know it, but it's basically a 25-ish years running poker series, which travels around the world, does poker tournaments and other fun things. And I've been around that industry for about 10 years, so it's an exciting chance to be back in that world and doing high-risk degen stuff again, like the good old days in the poker space.
Mate, I love that. And it wouldn't be right of me just to skim over what you said about, obviously, MintPass, but can you kind of go into a little bit more detail about what that taught you? Like, obviously, three plus years of, I know how hard you were working on it, like tirelessly. And I remember when you were launching, you had to push it back, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to obviously last week, where Sally had to shut it down. But what did that process teach you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot is the shortest of answers. I'll try to itemize a couple highlights. I think one that sticks out to me is like no one will care more about your failures than you. And by that I mean I spent a lot of time over these past several months when kind of seeing the writing on the wall with how this was going to go, and so much of me didn't want to admit defeat, and a lot of it was ego-driven over like, what will people think? What will people say? How will I handle this? How will people react? I had investors who had given money towards this thing. I had to break the news to them, and they're going to disown me, and they're going to be pissed, and what's that going to look like? And, not to be results-oriented with it all, but that hasn't been the case. Like, the feedback has been, not that I've shared it, as I said, that's not like I've gotten a lot of public feedback yet, but it's been a lot of even like congratulations, pride, we know how hard you worked, sorry it ended this way, like sympathy, like just everyone's been really nice. Like everyone gets it. And there's been not once anyone been like, you suck or what's wrong with you. Like no one's faulted me for trying is the point.
But it's funny that we perceive that to be
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I 100%. When you mentioned that, it was like there was nothing going through my mind. It's like, oh, you didn't do it. Or,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like negative thoughts. Yeah. Like you gave it a good go because I know literally blood, sweat, and tears went into it.
And that's the thing is like I tried to. It helps like the observer perspective is always key. Like what would I think of someone like me in the situation that I'm in should this outcome occur? And there's no world in which my perspective would be, this guy fucking sucks. Or why did he even try? Or what an idiot, he looks foolish. Like you always admire the people who take the shot. It's if anything, it's the people who don't take the shot you're neutral against, but those who go out of their way to try and are willing to fail, we applaud. And obviously, like the success stories are the ones that are the loudest, but I think it's important to acknowledge the failures as well for the positive spin on it. Because in order to have the success stories, you have to have the failure stories. And whether that be an individual level or a widespread level of just the population trying things, creating things, doing things that are new, disruptive, and exciting. And I will never regret having taken my shot at that.
No. And like everyone that's sat in that seat is literally, like what they've all said, the importance of failing forward. And there's, in that instance of like failure, let's say, I do the same things like what you're talking about, like that self-dialogue and be like, what are people going to think?
Yeah.
You're a failure, you're shit, you're this, you're that. And then I always think, like, I catch myself, like, let me have my own 30-second, 5-minute, sometimes 10-minute pity party. And then I'm like, right, how would I tell a client or how would I coach a client through this? And that's exactly how I would then start talking to myself.
But it's so hard, right?
It's
one
of the most difficult
it's so
things
hard.
in the world.
It's literally your job to encourage people to fail, and you have a hard time failing yourself. Which goes, I mean, I'm not. There's no condemnation of you. It just goes to show how hard it is to wrap one's ego-driven brain around the concept 100%. Of it being not only being okay to fail, but embracing it and using it as a tool, even.
Yeah, mate. I had a conversation with my wife the other day, and I was like, "What are you like scared of?" And she was like, "Oh, like sharks, spiders." And then she turned around to me and was like, "What are you scared of?" And I was like, "Failure." She was like, "That is so cringy." And I was like, "But it's true. Like, I don't like not succeeding, but like you said before, you can't succeed without failing because all the lessons learned, and then it's like a stepping stone forward." And then going into kind of the poker, I know that you love playing poker. So now you found like not now you found, but you've got a career now in a hobby and a passion of yours.
Yeah, so this predates our time together, but I worked in the industry for a long time too. So I worked.
Did that come from you playing poker and then getting in the industry?
No, so I got in. Oh, I've grown up around poker for the vast majority of my life, and then I moved out to Vegas after college. Went into real estate actually, and then ended up getting roped into this, essentially a startup TV channel that specialized in poker. And without getting into the full specifics of it, they changed course into more of a digital streaming model. This was like in 2015. Like now we all have 10 plus subscriptions, but that wasn't the known thing then. It was like Netflix, Hulu, and the list ends. So I was very involved in leading this initiative to turn this TV network into a digital streaming platform. And that became what's now known as PokerGo today, which is that's just what it sounds like, a subscription video on demand service for poker content. So I was president there until 2020, and then I had left to go to other things, kind of like we talked about, and then have happened back into poker since then, 5 years later, with this other company that I mentioned, World Poker Tour. So it's kind of this like prodigal son dynamic of like returning into poker, and it's been fun to like reconnect with old friends from the industry and do something again that I had a lot of fun doing way back when.
I think that's important what you just said there, doing something you have a lot of fun doing. And I think that's what I always like sometimes take for granted. Like, I wouldn't want to be a coach if I didn't enjoy it and find fun in coaching. And I feel like it's much easier to push through those failures, push through those hard times when you truly know that you have fun and having a passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, the word that fits into a lot of the previously discussed context, but a word that I've gone to a lot in sort of compartmentalizing my life, whether it be the time allocation we talked about, whether it be decisions of what to do professionally, personally, or otherwise, is just values. And I think a lot of what I, in hindsight, say are my poor decisions of the past, I guess I would say past few years, but you can even open that up to my adult life, stem from not making my decisions aligned to my value set and not prioritizing where my values are. And I think I've done a lot of things recently that are, I guess in hindsight it's easy to say this, but weren't done based upon who I wanted to be, but more who I thought other people wanted me to be. I hope I got that right.
You did.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's an icky feeling. It sucks when you're kind of living someone else's dream in a way, or trying to live someone else's dream, but in the process, to your point of not being passionate about it, you'll never lead that dream properly. You just end up trying to be something you're not, and almost like a LARPing as some caricature of yourself in a very disjointed type of way. So a lot of I think, and the fatherhood plays into this as well, but a lot of just the level set for me has been refocusing on what matters, who I want to be, and doubling down on that as opposed to trying to like be a little bit of everything to everyone all at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't think you can ever reflect on that enough, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's do an exercise. I'm gonna take the reins of this conversation.
I like it, mate.
Give me, off the top of your head, your top 5 values. Like if you had, let's do 3. Keep it simple, and then how that translates to your life. Have you ever thought about this?
I did this exercise with my therapist, and I'll go into this after.
Oh. These are 2 guys that go to therapy.
Yeah.
This is healthy.
Yeah.
This is healthy, healthy male conversation.
I'll say humor, respect, and love. And the reason for those is I like putting a smile on people's faces. Who doesn't like laughing? My humour, mate, can go anywhere. And I've
seen
it.
Yeah.
And respect, I feel like you should always respect everybody because you don't know their story. And giving them the full respect allows other values to creep in, like trust and many, many others. And treating everyone with respect is the least we can do.
Yeah.
And then love kind of goes obviously like relationships, but the love for what I do. So intertwining all those things, as you would have received check-ins from me, mate, you don't know how it's going to show up. In the sense that I can just go off on a tangent, ADHD flying, I'll see a bird past the window and I'm like just staring out the window for 5 minutes.
There it goes.
Do you know what I mean? Anything. But going back to when I did this, my therapist, obviously the values, there's an endless list. And he was like, pick like 5. So obviously the first time I picked was like fitness, health. And don't get me wrong, they are still very important to me, obviously. And then I picked 5, I can't remember now, but it was like fitness, health, and then kind of humour and a couple of others. And he was like, right, is your wife around? He was like, take a picture of the screen and send her this and ask her to give what she thinks your core values are. They were so different.
Yeah.
So then that gave me the realization that how I perceive myself is a lot different to how it's getting received, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that was like eye-opening and being like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I'm a lot more kind of centered than I thought.
There was I forget, one of those like dime a dozen Substack newsletters, but this was actually a quality one from I forget who. But basically his whole recommendation for families, couples, or otherwise is to do this like almost like a quarterly audit of values. So I think as important as values are to day-to-day decision making in the micro, I think the macro of how values shift is also worth monitoring as well. Because like I'm sure you would agree, like what you answered in that session is different than what you would have answered a year ago, what it was different than what you'll answer a few years from now. And I think as our values change, we change as people. And I think as we've both chosen to hitch our wagon to a single person for the rest of our lives, like you kind of gotta see where that wagon is moving on a term-to-term basis. And oftentimes, if not all the time, that's going to be values-led. So if you're not having that conversation, then what conversations are you having?
Yeah, and like we were talking about before, about life, not to go into the like details of that, but stuff that has been happening personally. Mm-hmm. Like you were saying before, your values shift. When we were going through that for the previous 6 weeks, I already knew my value shifts, and it puts everything into a different perspective. So instead of kind of like someone's values might be like money, success, and all that stuff, it literally was health.
Yeah.
Health and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's still like, they're always core, but then it's like interchanging, if that makes sense. So it's like a pyramid of values, and then sometimes health will be number 1, then family, depending on the circumstances, what happens, and et cetera, et cetera. But circling back into therapy, mate, if you don't mind me asking, how come you began that journey?
Oh, it's been so long now. Well, I'll quickly say one more note on values. I think what the best part about this is the values become a litmus test. So like as we talked about time management or decision making, whatever the case may be, decisions are hard. Like even the most mundane, whether it's like what to order at a restaurant or whatever the case may be. And obviously, like your values won't guide what to order at Cheesecake Factory, but nonetheless, like you have a sort of a guiding principle for what to do in a given moment. And that applies to the day-to-day, that applies in the macro, and I think that's like really nice to have of like, you can sometimes go back and forth on something, but if you can have assurance in like what does or does not align to your core key values, like it makes everything that much easier. So I think it's only a positive, and I'd highly recommend anyone.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, so I started going to therapy, this was 2015, 2016, so almost 10 years ago now. And honestly, I wish there was like this great story of like an eye-opening experience or realization, but like quality of life was shit for a while. I had really bad anxiety. When I get anxious, it manifests aggressively physically. Like I get really nauseous and really just like jumpy. I was in this specific case, it was on a trip to the UK, your neck of the woods, or former neck of the woods, like one could say. And I just like wasn't sleeping, and I was detached from family. I was missing family events because I was just so sheepish and just kind of off-put over things. And it was just a wake-up call of like, this needs to change. So started going. I was going for a while, every couple weeks, and that then became once a month, and that's progressed now to like almost like an as needed basis. Like I keep like a running every 6 weeks, just kind of go check in. And the best part is sometimes I'll go in and it's like, I don't know what to talk about because like I've got all my shit sorted. Mm-hmm. So like, it's just more like she's got to pull it out of me as opposed to like me just like trauma dumping every time I go in there. So I think the critical point of that is like, it doesn't always have to be like a need state of like, oh shit, I got to go to therapy. And then like, you're never necessarily healed or cured of whatever your ailment, mentally or otherwise, might be in this case, but it's rather just like ongoing maintenance and preventative, if nothing else. And I think it's cool, sorry to ramble on the benefits of therapy, but like, I think it's cool just to have, there's no context in life where you go into a situation where the person you're talking to doesn't have their own perspective in mind. Like even as we have this conversation, like I'm thinking through the lens of my lens, you're thinking through the lens of your lens. I think to go into a setting where you have an unbiased third party who's just there for you and you only, which never otherwise happens, I think is a really cool, at times like nice thing just to go and
100%
be in that sort of setting.
And it was kind of the reason why I started wasn't because of kind of trauma or mental health or anything like that. It was honestly, mate, purely business side. Like I was struggling to kind of understand how to progress. Like I was busy, but busy isn't good.
Yeah.
I wasn't productive. And then like we did one every week for, I think for the first 2-3 months, and then it went to bi-weekly, and now it's like once every 3 weeks, and like I need it kind of thing. And it was mental in the like, it's not a competition. It's like I've got more trauma than you.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own, and it still means as much to them as it should. Whatever. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
And we started going back to like when I was in school, and I was like, holy shit! I've been holding on to those beliefs of like, and linking back to what we mentioned at the start, of being like, you're shit, you're a failure, you're this, you're that. And I used to speak to myself like that all the time. And me just being like, that's how Goggins does it. Mm-hmm. So that's right for everyone.
Yeah.
Which is not true,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
And then we unpacked all of that stuff, and you were just, again, going back to what we did with the core values and just making me understand emotions more and being more aware of emotions, so then you can control them and learn how to work with them and giving yourself grace and like time to unpack rather than just shit's hit the fan.
Yeah.
I'm a failure, I'm shit and all that.
And I'm sure your sessions go like this too, but I think it's also important to have someone that holds you accountable. Because if you go into a normal conversation with a friend, acquaintance, or just in the nebulous of social media, if you were to say some of those things like failure is not an option, you must keep going, just be rigid in your structure, do the things, hustle, blah 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 blah. Like not only is that accepted, but it's applauded, and that's like you're almost exalted for the David Goggins has gotten to where David Goggins is because like he is celebrated for that point of view. And I'm not saying that point of view is wrong, but it's not right for everyone, and for that matter, like it needs to be turned off at a certain point, lest it become toxic. And I think that's probably the point you got to of like, I don't think there's times if you're talking about running half marathons and some of our plans there, like you got to be in that zone of like, I'm not going to not do this. But there's other times, like when we joke about this in some of our conversations of like, you need to be willing to turn it off, even when it's hard and you don't want to. And like, you need to find that balance. And I think that's where like the mindset stuff, where a lot of times you think about mindset stuff is like being rock solid and steadfast and not giving up. But it's also about when to give up and knowing when to like, picking your spots to optimize for long-term performance as opposed to the short term.
Yeah. And I think part of like my job as a coach is knowing when to push and pull like you guys. But it's also educating kind of you guys on knowing when to push and pull yourselves. Mm-hmm. Not just with training. And again, obviously when there's the last mile of the half marathon that we're going to do, the conversations I'm going to have with myself, mate.
I'll yell back to you.
Yeah.
You got this.
You'll be at the finish line like, where have you been?
I'll be midway through my first beer.
Yeah. But obviously it's understanding like that self-dialogue, knowing when to use certain things. And one of the things my therapist said, which was one of the most challenging things he's asked me to do, was next time you're on a run, just tell yourself you can do it. Tell yourself you've got this. Tell yourself you're smashing it, rather than you're a fat piece of shit, pick it up. Like, and I did it, and then the first time I was like, no, that sounds weird. Yeah. And then I carried on doing it, and I was like, do you know what? It's actually making myself feel better. My legs didn't feel as heavy. Yeah. And it's just understanding kind of how to motivate you in different moods, energy levels, scenarios, and in a weird way, which my mind works, it's like being a manager of a sports team. Like everyone gets motivated differently, intrinsically, extrinsically, whether it's a product, like you get a ring if you win the league, whatever. Yeah. And the way I kind of understand that is I need to adopt that within myself in the sense of when energy's high, sweet is just a little nudge. Yeah. When energy's low, motivation's low, just like, right, use that kind of dialogue, use that motivation. And it's not kind of using one string of motivation. It's having many to then fall back on. Yeah. Because then whatever mood you're in, what energy levels you are, if you had a shit day at work, fucking whatever's happening, you know, because you've done that work with understanding your emotions, controlling them, being aware of them, you know how to push yourself forward. And then also, like we spoke about last week, is understanding when to pull back and not feeling guilty. This is your biggest thing. Yeah. Feeling guilty for fucking taking rest.
Well, yeah, and I'm gonna sit on camera and say like, oh yeah, I've got this all figured out. Here's what you got to do. But like as you know, like week to week, it's like I have a hard time with this stuff. I think the biggest thing for me is just like remembering or trying to remember. It's just not that deep. Like this is all for fun. Like we're doing this. Obviously, we want to be healthy and be there for our family and live longer and do all the things that being healthy allows for. But on a day-to-day basis, like we get to go out and run several miles. Like what sickos we are, just like choosing to go run 5, 6, 7 miles just because it's fun for us to do. Like it's easy to get in this headspace of like, you fucking idiot, you got to do this, you got to do it right, you got to get the faster time. Like you'll laugh at this, but like when you did the plan for me, it was like long run. So it was a couple weeks ago, it was a 6 mile run, and the next week you had to do the other 6 mile run, but you had to do it faster than the one before. The first one I did, I was feeling great. Second one, I was feeling so shitty, but I was like, he told me I have to go faster. Like I will not do this slower. Anyone else would have said, you know what, you're feeling bad. Like you're running 6 miles, that's great. Like if you run it a minute slower, whatever, like not a big deal. But in my mind, I was like, that's unacceptable. Like there's just no way. So again, it's like, but that's obviously silly, irrational thinking. Like
that's why we get on so well, because we're extremely similar.
Yes.
And if someone says to me, you need to go and beat that, I don't care if I've got one leg, mate. Yeah. I'm doing it. Yeah. Like I had nothing stopping me.
It's our toxic trait.
And it was like when I did that half marathon with just coming back from injury with hardly any training, my coach at the time was like, really wanted me to pull out, and I was like, bro, I'm doing it. And he goes, right, well, prove me wrong. And I was like, that's all I need to hear, man. I was like,
say less.
Sub 2 hours, no hip injury, let's have it. But no, it's hard to unpack, obviously, the mindset stuff, the fitness stuff, but what people can take is obviously you still need that drive to go up and achieve said goal, completing your first half marathon, losing 20 pounds, having more energy for your kids. Like, they're all very important, but it's understanding how to get there in a way that isn't asking too much of you, but enough where you have to push past kind of the old beliefs, the old habits that you held. Because more often than not, when times get tough, and I've been there, the old you that just wants to open up a bag of Doritos and sit in front of the TV, those voices don't go away. But it's understanding just how to turn them down a little bit.
And I'll tell you, I'll give you your flowers on this, and we'll make this some sponsored content for you. But we worked together on and off for a few years, and I will say I've worked with other coaches before and had different types of experiences, and the primary reason I like you personally, but the primary reason I keep coming back is because you have that real world perspective. And I think the easiest thing to do is to have that all or nothing approach. So I've done weight bets and stuff, and I typically operate of like a state of like consistency. I'll never get to like, I wouldn't tell you this, but I'll never get to like, shred it or anything like that if I weren't, all in on it. But sometimes I have to get in on it and walk in or lock in, because whether it's I have a race or whether it's I have a weight bet going and I have to get to this goal. But as I've worked with other coaches in those sort of settings, it's like, it's just, there is no other option except for the thing, and the thing has to be this way. And the outcome of that, while at times it's effective, it's A, it's unsustainable, and B, I'm fucking miserable. And like it happened, I'd mentioned I was doing this bet earlier this year, and it was like basically 6 weeks, and I got down from like 22% body fat to like 16%. So shaved off several points in about a month or 6 weeks time. And it was all while having a young child too. And Morgan basically outlawed any of these in the future because I was that shitty of a person during that whole stint. And I think that's just like a byproduct of like just the service that you offer and the relationship that we have working together is like, this is not something that is a stunt to me or a short-term oriented project, if you will, but it's like a lifestyle. And I think that's the place you have to get to for this to become sustainable, for this to become just like difference making, is you have to have the long term in mind. And I think that's where your coaching style does really well.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I've always said like I want to be the coach that I wish I had growing up, and I've done those as like summer shreds and all of that bollocks. And it's what you said there is like unsustainable and basically not enjoyable. Those are the two things that kind of I pride myself on, and trying to make it enjoyable. Yes, challenging. Like we always need a challenge, and without those two things, it's hard to have a result that you're gonna first of all enjoy getting and keep hold of. Like, what is the actual point of grueling yourself? Well, I mean, you did it for 6 weeks, but
it was horrible.
Grueling yourself, and then you can't maintain that result. But again, circling back to what you said, is like you'll never be shredded. Great, you don't need to be.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their own goals, ambitions, and drivers and whatnot. And for you, because I remember we jumped on that call.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And again, with your schedule, which we've documented quite well by now, you needed a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So on that call, we literally locked in the Hoover Dam half marathon in December.
Yeah.
And I saw a clear change in your application, in the sense of you're always driven, but the questions you started asking, how much you were then reflecting and thinking about fatigue, volume, all these key questions which you might have asked before, but even more so now, because it's like, right, there's a deadline. And when we have a deadline, doesn't matter who you are, what goal it is, when you have a deadline set, it gives everything purpose. And that's one of the like key themes from that call was we need purpose.
Yeah, and this call was also, we're recording this in August. This was probably in like early July, mid-July, and the race is in December. Like this was a very reasonable 7-month time frame where we have the luxury of stability in this effort, whereas certainly what I did earlier this year was not that. And I'd further say that, it was the 4 to 6 weeks, literally the same meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, weekdays, weekends, nothing different. And it was just for someone who thrives on, sweet treats sometimes, and like little surprises, little sticky snacks. Like it was horrible. And the irony is like I remember I weighed in, I did my DEXA fit, and then the next day I went on a business trip to Florida and derailed there, and then continued to derail for like the 6 weeks thereafter. Like I haven't weighed in like with a DEXA or like a body fat thing in a while, but I would venture to say I'm probably at what I started at, if not more, just because I then, all that progress I had, I then overcompensated in being so miserable with bringing joy back to my life after, which is okay. And I don't say that like as I don't resent it or lament it, but I'm in a good spot now of getting to have those sweet treats every now and then, or getting the off weekend, cheat meal, or doing things with more consistency, sustainability, and finding ongoing joy in that, as opposed to needing to like kill yourself over achieving something that doesn't have a long-term horizon on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate because I've done 2 photo shoots now, and I think it comes from obviously one of the reasons I started therapy, just like self-confidence and all that stuff. So when I'm not focusing on like the physique side of things and I'm not seeing like more lines, more definition, I instantly go back to the like me in school, like listing off all these negative things. But what I'm doing now is kind of, obviously physique's going to be a byproduct of performance and nutrition, but giving myself more flexibility with nutrition. And like, I'm not a guy that wants to go and get fast food. Like I can't remember the last time I had a McDonald's, like years.
Yeah. In-N-Out?
Well over 2 years.
Really?
Chipotle's a different answer though.
I had that on Sunday, but you can make that healthy though.
Yeah,
like I wasn't like I didn't get sour cream and cheese. Like I kept it reasonable.
Also a good one. If I don't know if it's all over America, but in Vegas it's teriyaki chicken.
Teriyaki Madness?
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah, mate. That.
See, but my mind has convinced me that that's healthy. I'd prefer to just maintain the illusion of that being
fast food.
Yes.
Yeah,
as far as if you're on the spectrum of.
Yeah, but again, this is what I was saying to you. Like your standards are so high that when you, for example, say your nutrition's it's been all right. I said literally this week that I was like, okay, I strongly believe, because I know you very well by now, that it's higher than what you think. And your misses aren't as big as you think. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like when you were saying about your weaknesses become more weaker, it's just making them less weak.
Yeah.
But yeah, just pulling myself away from being physique orientated and pushing more in performance. So really focusing on numbers, like recovery, fatigue, all these things, which you should focus on when you're pushing physique anyway. Mm-hmm. But for me mentally, it's taken a lot of pressure off that side of things and body image. Even though I'm crippled, mate, with body dysmorphia, it does help with focusing on workouts, numbers, pushing certain areas, trying new like conditioning workouts and expanding my horizons in fitness rather than looking what's in the mirror. Because more often than not, we look in the mirror, it doesn't paint a full picture of who you are, your actual performance, and where you're heading.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's.
I think how you feel is important. Something you say to me all the time, but it's easier to say back to you in a setting like this than it is to say it to yourself as you're doing your 20,000th step of cardio on a day-to-day basis, because you need to get your steps in and then some. But being responsive to how you feel and using that as the litmus test for push or pull or stagnate. Mm-hmm. And I think it's performance driven, as you say. Like it's not about what you look like or even what the output is, but rather like how it makes you feel, and when you can push, and when you need to relax, rest, recover, and being unapologetic about that, which is the hard part.
Yeah, and it's like one of my clients, she was very kind of, oh, I'm not dropping weight. I don't like how I look. And I was like, right, let's just completely flip the script. We've taken away weigh-ins, we've taken away pictures. In a similar sort of sense, but more aggressive than what I've done. And I was like, all we're going to focus on is how you feel and energy. And mate, it's like a new woman. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And I know it might sound a little bit silly, but like when you fill out the check-in form, I can tell just from like the text or the punctuation people use of how they're feeling when they fill it out, because I've read like thousands by now. Yeah. And that allows me to kind of, again, dig a little bit deeper and ask those kind of probing questions, but I only ask them when I've built a relationship like me and you have. Because if we just met, you're like, right, so how's relationships at home? Yeah. I was like, whoa, who's this guy? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's also, like, I mean, you've mentioned like I don't think I've done a body weight check-in in weeks with you for that reason though. Like that is not the measurement that I'm tracking right now. Like my success isn't dictated by weight at the moment. It's largely based how I feel. It's certainly like mileage put into as we're training for this half marathon. And eventually, probably like your other client, like the rest follows. Like if your body's feeling good, you're getting good workouts in, you're feeling good about what you're putting into your body, which means it's healthier. Like the outcomes are the things that you want, which is, being leaner, losing weight, whatever the goals are. And the coaching industry, obviously, online coaching is just, I feel it's not a saturated market because there's many good coaches, but there's more really shit coaches, and they just want, like, everything is just pushed through AI. There's no human connection. It's all that bollocks. Mm-hmm. I'm swearing a lot on this one. But it's more like, I feel that people in the coaching industry will do anything just to get that before and after. And even when I post those before and after, because they are amazing, and it's a huge, huge accomplishment, there's so much more behind those pictures that I don't have enough time to talk about that individual. And I would rather not post the before and after, but know the journey, for example, that you're going on, where you're happier. You're being a good husband. You're being the best dad you can. You're being successful at work. You've got energy. You've got all these aspects. Rather than, come on, Sam, we need to go down to 1,500 calories because I need that before and after to post on my Instagram. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I'm like, going back to what you said, is about the sustainability and the enjoyment and the fun. Yeah. Like, I want people to want to, like, kind of check in. I want people to want to tell me when things are going great, but also when they're not, because they have that support system.
Well, there's a reason why, like, for a while I've stopped for this reason, but a lot of self-help books basically say the same thing in different ways. We all want to be happy, we all want to be at peace, but if it were that easy, or if the message landed the same to everyone, we could all just hear those words and be like, oh, now I get it. But different messages resonate differently with different people, and I think that applies to fitness too. And that's where, like, the human element comes into play, because yes, it would be easier for a coach, like at scale, to say, like, here is the plan, let me change the macros depending on your weight, what do you have available for workouts, and just go do this and you will succeed. But I mean, even for us, like, week to week, whether it be because of travel, whether it be because of lifestyle and busyness, whatever, like, there needs to be adjustments made, and different things will work better for different people. Your other client, whether it's like, not doing the weight check-ins, but being focused on different things. I'm sure for other clients, it is nice to have a metric of weight, like seeing the pounds fall, and then that using that as motivation. So being dynamic with what hits for people and what leads to those successes, I think, is important. What makes you so good at what you do? Cut ad read.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, man.
And use promo code SAM for
50% off. But one thing that, again, my therapist do, just to kind of like wrap things up, which I think is kind of a probing question. He asked me to kind of, when I was low in self-confidence, self-respect, all the things that you don't want to be low in, I was there. And he was like, right, write a letter to your future kid, and just write about you and your wife, how you met, what you do for a living, why you do it, etc. So my point is, like, what advice, and if you didn't have Parker, I'd be like, what advice would you give your younger self? But I'm going to flip that and be like, what advice would you give Parker?
I care more because it's him. Because then I would give advice to myself. Like I could give shit about myself. No, that's a joke. But no, I have a ready answer to this because I do this. So starting with November 7th of last year, and his birthday's November 8th. My plan, I've done one. My plan is to the eve of every birthday to do like a long form letter to him.
Oh mate.
So like I've already started this. I have like in my safe like a little journal, and then on his 18th birthday, like that'll be like a gift I give to him. So and so I've thought a lot about this, and I think like it's frankly this will kind of bring it all full circle in terms of values and in auditing your life and being diligent about where you spend your time and attention. The thing that I feel most strongly for him is, it sounds vague and mushy, but like be who you want to be. And I think I have spent, not only in my adult life, but childhood, just striving to be someone else's figure of success. And it was always someone else's expectations that guided my actions. And I think a lot of that has manifested poorly mentally and otherwise. And that's a lot of that I'm still grappling with today. But I want him to know that like I will always be proud of him. I will be proudest of him. I'll always be mega proud. But whatever he wants to be, I want to celebrate that. And I want him, I never want him to look back and think that he was restricted in finding his own identity and finding space for whatever he wanted to do. And that's what I'm most excited for as a parent too, is like seeing who that person is and getting to watch that, be a part of the journey insofar as I need to be and he wants me to be, but also just celebrate that as we go. So that's to bring it full circle, that's kind of like, it was kind of hypocritical because I was giving him this advice and I was like, wait, like so much of my time I'm telling him to like be who you want to be. I'm like, wait, I'm not even who I want to be. And that's kind of led to a lot of this like, wait a minute, who do I want to be? And then here we are. And I'm more who I want to be now, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be more who I want to be then, and we'll just continue on that journey as we go.
Wow. Yeah, mate. Let's wrap it all there. I'm glad you carried on talking, mate, because as soon as you were like, oh, I'm going to do it for 18 years, it's in a safe, I was like, don't get me to talk because I'll get emotional, mate. I take after my mum, mate, honestly. Yeah. With all that
emotional stuff.
I love that so much. But Sam, for people that want to find where you are, what you're up to, let them know.
Nah, I don't have any things to plug anymore. I'm on Instagram.
I'm jealous.
LinkedIn. I'm vibing. I'm here for the good times. So
love that.
Let's all, whoever wants to hang out, hit up Tom, hit me up in the WhatsApp group maybe if you're part of the coaching crew.
If you want to do a half marathon, if you're in Vegas with me and Sam.
Find me at Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam. He's going to be probably a little bit further ahead than me, but I'm going to be chasing him. No,
we got 6 months to work on this together. Yeah. I'm set back by the footwear. You got plenty of time to catch up.
I'm going to keep that going. Thank you, mate.
Yeah. Great work. Thank you, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, that was class.
Done.